Dr. Rick Brenton, Field Biologist. Audio Journal 1, March 3rd, 10:17 p.m. The package arrived this morning, and I've spent the entire day submerged in its implications. I knew something was off the moment I signed for it. Courier was twitchy, wouldn't make eye contact. The shipping manifest was printed on an old dot matrix slip, like something pulled from a Cold War archive. It bore the seal of our mountain field station in the Carpathians, but no return address. Only one name, Dr. Eli Nagy, and a single line of text scrawled beneath it. Take every precaution. It's not what you think. Inside, in a vacuum-sealed canister, was a patch of dark, oily fur matted with partially coagulated blood and embedded soft tissue. It didn't look like anything unusual at first. My mind immediately jumped to wolf, maybe dog, some mistaken livestock attack from a panicked villager. But once I placed it under the dissecting scope, the story changed. The follicles were bizarre, elongated with complex bifurcations I've never seen in Canis lupus. The cuticle layers were twisted, not flat. Irregular cellular density, almost as if the hairs were evolving or responding to something. I ran a quick stain histology slide on the tissue. The nuclei are large, disorganized, almost aggressive in their mitotic activity. It didn't make sense. This sample is fresh, but the rate of cell division is alarming, like the tissue is still trying to heal or regenerate despite being detached. Worse yet, the mitochondria behave strangely. They cluster, migrate, and flicker with bioelectric patterns I can't replicate. At 4 p.m., I performed a preliminary DNA sequence using our portable genome analyzer. Most base pairs fall within expected ranges for Eurasian wolves, but about 9% of the genome, an entire unknown region, is unaccounted for in every available database. These sequences loop in on themselves. They don't code for proteins, they pulse, like embedded instructions waiting for something. I wore full containment gear throughout the examination. Double gloves, filtered respirator, splash shield. And yet, as the sun set and shadows grew long in the lab, I began to feel watched. Not paranoid, not spooked, just observed. The way you feel when a predator spots you through the brush. I boxed the sample, labeled it as Class B, pending classification, and secured it in cold storage. I keep catching myself scratching my wrists. I'll start more tests in the morning. Audio Journal 2, March 4th, 1:49 a.m. Can't sleep, not even a little. There's a sound coming from the ventilation shaft above my cot. At first I thought it was wind pushing through the ductwork, but this is different. It's rhythmic, scraping, pausing, then scraping again, like something trying to crawl through claw by claw. The pattern is deliberate. It's been going on for hours. I got up twice to check. Nothing. No raccoon, no squirrel. The shaft is bolted from the inside, but the sound continues. I turned on every light in the lab, but the shadows look wrong. Elongated, skittish, like they flinch when I look directly at them. I keep itching. It started on my wrists, but now it's spreading. Arms, shoulders, scalp. It's driving me mad. I took 2 antihistamines and scratched until I drew blood. I inspected the lesions under the microscope. The edges are clean, not torn or ragged, more like sliced. Thin, surgical. That's not how people scratch. I glanced in the mirror just now. My pupils are still dilated, too dilated for this hour. The whites of my eyes have a faint yellow tinge. I've been using the same soft lights I always do, so it's not lighting, it's me. I logged into the remote access feed to check my night vision security cams. The feed skips a consistent blank gap from 12:08 a.m. to now. Motion sensors were disabled. I didn't turn them off. There's a coppery scent in the air. Not blood, not ozone. Something else. Metallic, earthy, like wet ironstone and moss. I opened the specimen fridge to double-check the seal. Still intact. But as I stared at the sample, I felt this pull. Not magnetism, not gravity. Curiosity turned inward, like the cells were calling out to something in me. I ran a fast blood panel on myself. No fever, slight lymphocyte elevation. But my basal heart rate is 20 beats per minute higher than normal, and cortisol is through the roof. I'm not stressed, at least not consciously. Something else is triggering it. Something deeper, instinctual. I'll attempt to sleep, but I doubt I'll get any. Audio Journal 3, March 5th, 8:11 a.m. This morning, I woke up on the floor. Not my bed, not my desk. Curled in a ball under the south window. My mouth was sticky. I could taste iron. My first thought was a nosebleed, but then I saw the bird. A small sparrow, partially devoured. Its wings were twisted unnaturally, one claw frozen mid-spasm. Its chest was torn open, the heart exposed. There were teeth marks, human-sized. My hands were dirty. Dried blood caked beneath the fingernails, bits of grass and fur embedded in my palms. I remember nothing. I rushed to the lab console and checked the camera logs. The footage jumps again, a clean digital skip between 2:14 and 4:47 a.m. across all cameras. I triple-checked. It's not mechanical error. Someone or something disabled them. I pulled the blanket from my bed. It was damp, like it had been dragged through wet leaves. My pillow was outside on the deck, soaking from last night's rain. I tasted something sharp in the back of my throat. Copper and pine sap. I spit into a petri dish and ran a quick test. Elevated salivary enzymes. Same enzymes present in canid digestion. My body is producing wolf-like compounds. I drew blood. What I found is impossible. My lymphatic profile is changing. T-cell clusters are reorganizing. My neutrophils show elevated aggression markers behaving like predatory cells. The viral marker I detected yesterday has migrated. It's now embedded near my brainstem and pituitary gland. It's as if the virus is rewriting hormonal regulation. This is not an infection. It's an orchestration, a sequence, something ancient and deliberate. My skin feels tight, like it's waiting to be shed. I haven't eaten since yesterday, but I don't feel hunger. I feel anticipation. Audio Journal 4, March 6th, 11:03 p.m. Something is happening to my face, to my bones. It began this afternoon, sharp tension behind the cheekbones like the bones themselves are expanding. I felt a pop in my jaw, followed by an aching pressure near my temples. I went to the mirror, hoping to rationalize it, dehydration, sinus pressure, but as I stared into my reflection, I felt a foreign presence looking back. My eyes were wrong, wider, hungrier. There was a pulse behind my pupils, a dilation I couldn't control. I opened my mouth and examined my gums. The canines are longer, subtly but undeniably. I poked at one with a probe and winced. It's sharper, harder. The enamel fluoresces faintly under UV. And then, I growled, not intentionally. It happened when I sniffed the air. A low, guttural vibration rolled up from my chest. It made the glass hum. I examined my hands under magnification. Hair growth has increased by 31% in 48 hours. The keratin in my nails is thickening, almost claw-like. My skin is becoming rougher, with a strange lattice beneath the dermal layer. Collagen bands reshaping, or something else? I notice my gait has shifted, subtle but real, more pressure on the toes, knees bent more deeply. I tried running on the treadmill and nearly fell forward. My sense of balance is adjusting, favoring forward propulsion. But what truly disturbed me was this. I caught myself watching a squirrel through the window this evening. It twitched, sniffed, darted through the grass. My heart began to race. My jaw clenched. I wanted to pounce, not hypothetically, viscerally. I could imagine the chase, the kill, the taste. I'm not afraid anymore. That's the worst part. There's something thrilling in this dissolution of identity, a primal clarity, like something buried in the marrow of my species is waking up. I don't know what's happening to me, but I think I want it to continue. Audio Journal 5, March 7th, 7:06 p.m. The results are in. My latest blood work confirms what I feared and yet expected. The viral presence is no longer just detectable, it's dominant. Nearly 14% of my white blood cells now show altered nuclei, with overlapping structures more common to immune-evasive pathogens. The virus, if that's even what it is, has taken root not just in my body, but in my neurology. I compared scans from 3 days ago. There's neural restructuring occurring in the limbic system and cerebellum. Memory, instinct, balance, rage. But it's not chaos. That's the most terrifying part. This isn't some out-of-control parasitic invasion. It's organized, precise. Something is implementing changes with intention. I'm experiencing what I've started calling micro-blackouts. They last only seconds at a time. I'll be writing or pipetting or drinking tea, and then I'm somewhere else, hands wet, breathing hard. There's dirt on the floor, scuff marks on the tile. One time, claw marks on the underside of the supply table. Today I found a trail camera near the back edge of the property, smashed to pieces. That camera wasn't mine. Someone else had been watching. I don't know who or why, but it's gone now. I checked the path nearby and found large prints, partially bipedal, partially digitigrade. The stride was long, too long for a wolf, too long for a man. Back in the lab, I stared at my own reflection again. This time I held eye contact. I growled, and this time I meant to. It felt right. My teeth are sharper. There's a distinct layer of hair along my spine now, short, coarse, and spreading. My palms are roughening. The nails don't break anymore. And when the sun dipped below the tree line tonight, I felt elation. Something euphoric crept up the back of my skull. My senses lit up. I could hear crickets clicking half a mile away. I could smell damp wood beneath the floor. I'm still documenting, still recording, but not out of fear, not anymore. Now I want to understand what I'm becoming. Audio Journal 6, March 8th, 3:22 a.m. I woke up gasping, heart pounding, sweat cold on my back. The dreams are getting worse or more vivid. I hesitate to call them dreams. That implies they're fabrications. These feel like memories, visceral and grounded in sense. Tonight I ran through an old-growth forest, lit by broken moonlight and dripping moss. The world was alive with scent, fur, rot, heat, musk, blood. I wasn't just running, I was chasing. I remember the sound of hooves thudding on wet ground, the hiss of breath between my teeth. I remember the moment I leapt. But when I woke, there was no deer, only claw marks in the wood paneling beside my bed. Deep, angled, five-pronged. I'm not just dreaming. I'm transitioning. And the dreams are echoes of that change, like mental preparation for what the body is already enacting. My voice has started to shift. Deeper, gravel rough. I recorded samples over the last week. The timbre is changing. I don't recognize myself. I've stopped shaving. The hair on my jaw grows faster than I can trim it. My scent has changed too. I can smell myself. Something feral, electric, earthy. The animals avoid me. The lab mice are silent. The dogs at the neighboring property won't come near the fence anymore. One of them tried to bark, then whimpered and ran. The worst part is how calm I feel, like this is evolution. Not a disease, not even a curse, but a calling. Audio Journal 7, March 9th, 12:01 a.m. There's a pattern. Last night was a waxing gibbous moon, just over 89%. I woke up in the forest behind the ridge. No clothes. My feet were caked in mud and blood flecked my chest. I walked barefoot the 3 miles home. My GPS tracker, a feature I've worn since the micro blackouts began, recorded erratic data. Violent sprints, sudden stops, sharp directional changes, even a brief period of running on all fours. The terrain I crossed was steep and treacherous, but the data showed no hesitation. I climbed sheer rock faces in the dark. I have no memory of it. But I've mapped the events now across lunar phases. The more full the moon becomes, the longer and more intense the blackouts. Something in me is syncing with that rhythm. It's not symbolic. It's biological, hormonal, a switch flipped by ancient lunar light. I checked my hormone levels again. Luteinizing hormone, testosterone, cortisol, all surging. My olfactory sense has doubled based on blind scent identification tests. My heartbeat at rest is now 47 beats per minute, and my irises have darkened. Photos from just 2 weeks ago show pale green eyes. Now they're amber. The moon is not just a trigger, it's a beacon, and I'm listening. Audio Journal 8, March 9th, 9:14 p.m. Something strange happened today. My assistant, Marie, who hasn't visited since the sample arrived, came by to drop off shipment paperwork. She froze the moment she walked through the lab door, said the air smelled like wet pine and metal. She asked if I'd spilled anything. I said no. She wrinkled her nose, avoided eye contact, and left after just 2 minutes. She didn't say goodbye. I locked the door after she left and stood in the center of the room. Then I breathed in. She was right. I smelled it, myself, and it wasn't human, it was animal. Sharp, aggressive, with a base note of iron. I opened my clothing drawer and sniffed the fabric. The scent had permeated everything. Cotton, leather, even sealed plastic. Whatever I'm becoming, it exudes something primal, something territorial. I've caught myself sniffing things, the air, the floor, my own arms. It's not conscious, it's reflexive. I've begun cataloging this behavior. Every instance corresponds with a spike in heart rate and a subtle change in posture. I'm not just smelling. I'm reading the environment through scent. Tonight, I stood outside barefoot and took in the wind. I smelled squirrels, raccoons, a fox that passed through earlier in the day, but beyond that, something else, something like me. There's another scent, faint, distant, but unmistakable. One that makes my spine tingle and my breath slow. There's another one out there, Audio Journal 9, March 10th, 6:48 p.m. Something happened today, something I can't rationalize, at least not in the way I was trained to. I was out walking the perimeter trail behind the lab, documenting recent erosion patterns for the regional grant office. The morning was quiet, dew on the moss, crows shifting in the upper canopy, air still heavy with snowmelt. I'd been following a faint deer track, more out of habit than necessity, when I caught a whiff of something in the underbrush. Fresh, mammal, fear, and before I could process the impulse, I was chasing. There was no moment of conscious decision, no intellectual interjection. My body just moved, fast, faster than I've ever run. I dropped the clipboard, sprinted on instinct, cutting through low ferns and brambles like they weren't there. My breath was steady, my vision sharpened. The deer was just ahead, a young buck, maybe 2 years old. I closed the gap in seconds. Then came the leap. But I woke up on the forest floor sometime after. No buck, no blood, just dirt embedded in my palms and a deep ache in my thighs like I'd sprinted miles. My clothes were torn, one shoe missing. Back at the lab, I replayed the GPS tracker. I covered 4 kilometers in just under 8 minutes. Uphill, through terrain that should have slowed me by half. The footage from my chest cam had scrambled during the sprint. Static, flashes of branches, quick glimpses of fur, or maybe hair? I'm not sure. I stood in the mirror for a long time after that, trying to find the line between who I was and who I am now. But it's blurry. The man in the mirror twitches, leans forward, breathes through flared nostrils. I don't recognize his posture, his stillness. I'm beginning to think the thing inside me doesn't suppress the mind. It coexists with it, amplifies it, offers clarity at a cost. And part of me is okay with that. Audio Journal 10, March 11th, 2:01 a.m. I finally felt it. Not a blackout, not a dream, not a behavioral drift. The change, it came on fast just after midnight. The moon was high, bleeding through the pines in thin, radiant slices. I was in the containment room, preparing tranquilizer dosages in case I needed a test on myself. Again. Then came the pressure. Behind the spine, in the sternum, behind the eyes. A crack. Not audible, internal. My knees buckled. My jaw locked. I fell to the floor. The pain was incandescent. It wasn't pain like an injury. It was pain like eruption, like tectonic plates shifting beneath skin. I watched my hands lengthen, tendons pulled taut, fingers twisted, nails became claws, and I could feel the bones bending deliberately with purpose. My vision split, then reformed. The lights overhead flickered, and every buzz from the ballast stabbed into my skull. My senses exploded, sound, heat, scent, memory, layered like harmonics. And then I forgot. I came to hours later, naked, bloodied, curled in the corner of the containment room. The steel door had buckled outward. Deep claw marks ran across the insulated panels. One of the cameras was shattered. The other showed 30 seconds of something moving, fast on all fours, too fast for the shutter rate to capture clearly. I stared at that frame for 20 minutes. That was me. It had to be. And in the reflection of the camera's broken lens, I wasn't afraid. Audio Journal 11 on March 12th, 9:41 p.m. I've locked myself in the sub-basement. The reinforced storage chamber was designed for cryo-stabilization, not containment, but it will do. I've layered the door with salt and iron, superstition or not. I have no intention of leaving until morning. Last night, someone filed a livestock report with the local ranger station. 3 goats shredded in a pattern not consistent with any known predator. The bite radius was too wide, the incisions too precise, no sign of feeding, just destruction. I checked the wounds myself. They matched what I found etched into my own lab walls. This thing, this other me, doesn't kill for food. It hunts for dominance. I've started leaving voice memos on a loop, reminders to myself of who I was, what I studied, who I loved, my mother's name, the taste of coffee, the warmth of a summer lake. Because each morning it gets harder to remember those things. The nails don't retract anymore. They're just part of me now. The hair is spread across my chest, my back. I can run 12 kilometers without fatigue. I see better in the dark. I hear whispers through steel. I'm writing this from the corner of the chamber, crouched low, breathing slow. My heart isn't racing, it's focused. The door just groaned. Something's outside, or inside. Audio Journal 12, March 13th, 11:58 a.m. I found something I don't remember creating. A folder on my external drive, hidden in a directory I never use, labeled simply Witness. Inside, 5 video files. Time-stamped from 3 nights ago. Camera angle low, behind a reinforced one-way panel in the observation lab. The footage begins with me, fully clothed, pacing, sweating. I inject myself with a sedative, does nothing. Then I collapse. The change takes 3 minutes. My limbs twist. My bones fracture and realign. My skin molts. Hair erupts across every inch of me. The scream I make doesn't sound human. Then I stand, tall, hulking, breathing steady. The creature I become turns toward the glass and stares directly at the camera. And smiles. Not a snarl. Not a grimace. A slow, intelligent smile. I watched it all. I didn't blink, and when it was over, I didn't cry. I felt pride. Something inside me is waking. Not just muscle and sinew, but thought, memory, legacy. This isn't madness, it's revelation. Audio Journal 13, March 14th, 2:14 a.m. The wind has died tonight. The trees outside the lab are perfectly still, unmoving like stage props. I should be sleeping, but sleep no longer feels necessary. I've slept too much over the years. Wasted time, wasted mind. Tonight, a voice spoke to me, not hallucination, not delusion. It came through the intercom, our old backup PA system I haven't used in months. I'd left the receiver powered off, or so I thought. And then, clear as moonlight slicing through fog, it said my name, Rick, nothing else. No static, no signal ID, just that, familiar, deep and resonant. It echoed in my chest like it had weight. I tore open the cabinet and yanked the system apart. The internal power was severed, physically unplugged. The wires were dusted over. It shouldn't have worked. It couldn't have. There's something else out there, or down there. I walked the perimeter again before dusk and found claw marks in the trees, not mine. The spacing was different, wider, higher. They weren't warnings, they were messages, and I understood them. That's what terrifies me most, not that I heard the voice, but that it spoke in a language I am starting to know. Audio Journal 14, March 15th, 6:03 p.m. I stood in the river today, barefooted, naked, submerged, waist-deep in meltwater. I should have been shivering, but the cold didn't bite. I watched the flow around my legs, watched trout flick between submerged stones, and I breathed. The pain is gone. My muscles no longer scream with each change. The process has accelerated, but it's also smoother, refined. My body isn't fighting anymore. It's obeying. The virus, or whatever it is, has completed its work. I'm no longer a man resisting an invader. I'm the result of a merger. I walked 10 kilometers today on all fours. I hunted, not because I needed food, but to understand the shape of the motion, the tension of the chase, the scent of breath as it leaves a dying thing. I understand now. I was born wrong. I lived as something incomplete. This is not regression. It is not beasthood. It is purity. Audio Journal 15, March 16th, 12 a.m. Tonight is the full moon. I no longer record out of fear. These logs are no longer warnings or cries for help. They are scripture, records of transformation for whoever finds this place next. I am not a creature of science anymore, not just. I am not bound to theory or biology. I am instinct, thought, memory, power. My claws no longer retract. My eyes have lost all white. My spine has thickened. My scent claims every tree for kilometers. And I am not alone. There are others. I see them at the edge of the trees, watching, blinking slowly, never approaching. But I feel them in the dark. We are part of something larger, a lineage, a memory older than language. They do not speak, but I understand their message. They've been waiting for me, and I am ready.